Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to another movie review. And this review is going to be on Sonic the Hedgehog. And the film stars Jason Marsden, Jim Carrey, Tika Sumpter, and Ben Schwartz, who does the voice of Sonic. And the film, of course, is based off of the video game franchise of Sonic the Hedgehog by Sega. And, Sonic is one of, Sega's, big video game character. Like whenever you think of Sega, you think of Sonic. And I have, quite, a little history with, Sonic as a kid. Sonic came around in 1991, the year I was born. And that's when the first game came out for the Genesis. And I remember playing both the first Sonic and the second Sonic on the Genesis because my cousin had the Genesis back in the day, and she had both of the Sonic games. Played both of them. Sonic 2 was my favorite among them. And then I haven't played the other games that came out after those two, like Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles. The last Sonic game I could remember playing was one of the Sonic racing games called, I think it was called Sonic Riders, because I remember it was for the Xbox. And I remember playing it at GameStop one time. And it was pretty fun. And then, of course, you had the cartoons, you had the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and you had the more mature Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon called Sonic the Hedgehog, or some people refer to it as Sat AM. I remember watching the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Quite a few episodes as a kid, as I remember it coming on late on Toon Disney, and it was syndicated in city markets. But I remember watching a few episodes of that as a kid, and Jaleel White, who played Steve Urkel on Family Matters, also voiced Sonic in both those two cartoons. And that's another thing. When I think of Sonic, I think of the first two games which I played as a kid, and of course the cartoon. Jaleel White voicing Sonic in the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, which that cartoon, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, it gets a lot of hate from the huge Sonic fans. Like, if you haven't seen the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, it's kind of like take Ren and Stimpy and have it more over the top. Because, the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog is pretty much an over the top cartoon. I mean, I remember it being, a funny cartoon. And then, of course, I remember having a Sonic the Hedgehog folder when I was in kindergarten. So I had that. So, I could say, I liked, Sonic when I was a kid. So, but then this film comes out. And this film was originally supposed to be released in November of last year. But it got delayed because when the first trailer came out, the look of Sonic, I thought Sonic in the first trailer looked absolutely fucking terrible. It was god-awful how the way he looked. So after the first trailer was released and it got a big negative reaction from the fans, including me, Paramount then delayed the film They delayed the film to redesign Sonic because on Twitter, the director of the film, Jeff Fowler, he came out on Twitter and he actually listened to the fans, to the overwhelmingly negative response from the fans. And he came out on Twitter and said that Sonic is going to be redesigned. So because of that, the film was delayed from its November release to February of this year. So the second trailer then was released, and the look of Sonic, I actually liked. I really liked how they redesigned Sonic in the second trailer for the film, and then I was like, you know what? Okay, this might be a decent film, but I would wait for reviews for people who have seen the film in order for me to check it out, because I was a little lenient on seeing this film. So saw the reviews of the film, went on IMDb, and shockingly it got good reviews from the people who have seen the film. So I'm like, you know what? I'll give the film a chance. So, and Jim Carrey's in it. Jim Carrey, always loved ever since I was a kid. He's one of my idols next to Robin Williams, the late great Robin Williams. So saw the film today, and I thought this was an awesome film. I really enjoyed this film. And basically the film is about Sonic, and in the beginning of the film we see him, and he's with this owl, and the owl ends up giving Sonic a bag that is filled with rings, and the rings can create portals for him to escape and go to these other planets. So then it goes years later, and Sonic is now in this town called Green Hills, Montana. And Green Hills is a reference to the Green Hill Zone in the first Sonic game, which of course was released on the Genesis, which that was a very fun level. I remember, having a lot of fun, playing that level as a kid. And we see Sonic makes friends with, well, I'll get to that, but one night Sonic is in this baseball field, and he's very lonely, and because of that, he runs at very supersonic speed, and he triggers a pulse, an electromagnetic pulse that knocks out the power. And because of that, the government is looking at who caused this power outage. And so they send Doctor Robotnik, who is played by, of course, Jim Carrey, to uncover the source of this outage. And so Jim Carrey ends up tracking Sonic, and he hides in this guy's shed. This guy by the name of Tom Wachowski, who is played by James Marsden. And because of that, Sonic ends up meeting James Marsden, and Robotnik ends up coming up to James Marsden's house to try to see if Sonic is hiding in his house. And so it's basically a road trip between Sonic and James Marsden's character, and they got to escape Robotnik, and Sonic has to get to San Francisco to get the bag that was filled with rings in them, because I don't want to spoil how he lost the rings. So, but basically, that's what the plot to the film is about. But I really liked how the look of Sonic, looks just like how he looked in the second trailer. Thought Ben Schwartz did a good job voicing Sonic, and even though I still think of Jaleel White from the Sonic cartoon, Sonic cartoons. Even though, like I said, I never watched the more mature Sonic cartoon, the Saturday AM Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon that, from what I heard, was on Saturday mornings. So, but I thought Ben Schwartz did a fine job voicing Sonic. James Marsden, very likable character. His character is a sheriff, and we also have Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey here is Doctor Robotnik. It's Jim Carrey was being Jim Carrey as always. So, but I really enjoyed Jim Carrey in the role of Robotnik, and I like how the way that they didn't make Jim Carrey look exactly like Robotnik, like in the cartoons where Robotnik had like an egg head, and he was huge, he was fat. Can you imagine Jim Carrey looking big and fat for the role? It would have just looked stupid on screen. But I like how the way that that they didn't make Jim Carrey look like how Robotnik looked in the game and in the cartoon. But Jim Carrey was just being Jim Carrey in this film, playing the villain. And I think this is the second time that Jim Carrey played a villain. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the first time we saw Jim Carrey play a villain was when he played the Riddler in Batman Forever, which I enjoyed him in that role in Batman Forever as the Riddler. I know a lot of people didn't like Batman Forever, but I enjoy Batman Forever as a guilty pleasure. And we also have Tika Sumpter, who plays Maddie Wachowski, who is James Marsden's character's wife in the film. So, overall, I thought it was a very fun film. There is 2 mid-credit scenes at the end of the film. One of them revolves around Robotnik, and the second one I'm not giving away. I don't want to spoil it though, but just wanted to let you all know that if you guys go and check out the film. But the film I thought was awesome. Really enjoyed it. It was a fun time, and the film is doing good at the box office. And there's talks about a sequel. And I read in an article that they want to get The Rock for the sequel. That would be pretty cool. And just by the second mid-credit scene, which I don't want to give away, you could tell that they're setting it up for a sequel. And hell, I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel. I really like to see it. Really like to see the sequel. So, but Sonic the Hedgehog, awesome film. Wasn't as bad as I was fearing it to be after seeing that first trailer. So definitely, it's worth a watch. Definitely check it out. It's worth watching. It's worth seeing in the theater. Kind of reminded me of like Detective Pikachu a bit. But overall, I would say I recommend Sonic the Hedgehog. It's a fun time at the movies. And if you guys are fans of Sonic and played the games, and if Sonic was a part of your childhood, definitely go check out this film. Worth watching. So, yes, anyways, that's it for my review of Sonic the Hedgehog. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And I will see you all tomorrow night with the Monday Night Raw review. So until then, see you all tomorrow night.